It's hard to believe there's only one episode of Silo left this season, but fear not, Silo dwellers, Apple has renewed Silo for a second season. But there's still a lot of mystery remaining as the pressure to find Juliette mounts. In this video, we'll be taking a deep dive into the Down Deep, uncovering all its mysteries with new theories and clues. I haven't read the books, so there won't be any book spoilers, so everything in here is based purely off Sleuthing. I've left timestamps below so you can see all the topics I'll be covering. Now put on your suits, it's time to clean. Last episode, we saw Juliette seemingly plummet to her death in her attempt to escape Sims and Judicial. Luckily, Juliette noticed Paul showing signs of the syndrome and used this to her advantage to escape while simultaneously snagging the bag that contained the hard drive. And in this episode, we see that she lands a few levels below. With the entire silo basically after her, she goes to the one place Sims would least suspect, his family's apartment. And this makes sense because only a few computers in the silo have the ability to read sysop protected drives. Normally she'd be able to access this drive from her sheriff's terminal, but that's obviously out of the question, which leaves either Bernard, Meadows, or Sims's computer as an alternative. Holding Sims's wife Camille and son Anthony hostage, Juliette connects the drive to the computer, unaware that its connection would alert the Watchers to her location. This will give her limited time before having to flee yet again. But there's another problem. The drive requires a password, and luckily Allison, all the way back from season 1, cracked it. We'll see this paper with a bunch of failed attempts crossed out, and some of these include history, Meadows, and poison. There's also this cryptic line on the bottom right that reads, "What was taken, what we took. Who is we and who are the takers who came?" The password, however, is the word library circled here. The word can also be seen etched into the very drive itself, and the contents of the drive are very much like a library, containing hundreds of documents. Some of these include critical medical and power supply inventories and a blueprint of the silo itself, which George found in episode 1. Luckily, George has left Juliette a file named Start Here, which includes a video he made using the camcorder found in episode 2. But before Juliette can fully sink her teeth into this video, she is warned by Camille that Judicial will be on its way, and Camille had every opportunity to either kill Juliette or wait for Judicial to come and arrest her. Why did she let Juliette go? The answer she tells Sims is that she knows what would have happened if the raiders came. They would have killed her. Camille was a raider for 12 years before moving to IT, and seems to be wary of them, not letting her husband's escort check her apartment. Camille also owns a firearm, which is only reserved for certain personnel, but it's never mentioned if this is her husband's. Luckily, Juliette has a friend in Patrick Kennedy. She saved his life a few episodes ago when Sims and Trumbull tried to frame him for the murders of Marnes and Mayor Ruth. He's contacted a hacker by the name of Danny, who seems to have aided in the disruption of the Watcher's security cameras to aid in Juliette's escape. Danny is a part of a ring that hacks the Silo security network, and perhaps he can unlock the hard drive on a non-sysop authorized computer. In fact, Danny once owned this hard drive but didn't have the password, thus he sold it to Regina, George's ex, who then gave it to George. Danny can also spoof the drive's location, making the Watchers believe it's being accessed somewhere else than where it really is. While at Patrick's, Juliette can take the time she really needs to see George's video. And George is pretty candid, telling her that his main plan was to use her to gain knowledge about the silo, then leave her behind. But he ended up falling in love. At Cooper's shadow party in episode 2, he was going to tell her that he had found what he was looking for. Back in episode 1, he saw on the hard drive a blueprint which showed some sort of tunnel below the giant pit of water in the sealed off section of the silo. There's apparently some sort of 15-foot high door that he's found that likely connects to this, but he's been unable to get through it. Then there's the added problem of the water, something Juliette was unable to overcome. He says, quote, "It was nothing to worry about." Now there are a lot of questions spinning through my head. First, is this door under the water or somewhere off to the side? Second, is the water itself? When he says it's not a problem, what is he referring to? Could it be that the water looks super deep but it's actually just a foot or two? That there is some way to remove the water, or that the water itself is safe to traverse? Maybe the water isn't a barrier to this door at all. Now Juliette is an engineer, so I wonder if her skills can be used to get this mystery door open. George also mentions that the people of the silo deserve to know the truth, and why Alison Becker went out to clean, and she can start by checking out the file called Jane Carmody Cleaning. We first saw this file way back in episode 1, and there's also mention of this cleaning in the mayor's ledgers that Ruth was going through shortly before her death. The video would have us believe that the cafeteria screens are alive, that the outside is beautiful and filled with life as evidenced by this flock of birds. But here's what's really interesting. Holston saw this same group of birds when he went out to clean. This would imply that his suit also has some sort of screen playing this video. I personally think these images from Holston's point of view look computer generated. They also don't show the dead bodies of previous cleaners. So what's real? The Jane Carmody file or the cafeteria screen? Could both be manipulated? The very fact that a Jane Carmody video exists implies that someone was recording her, that the suit itself contains a recording device. All of this is making my mind explode. And before we continue, if you're liking these videos, be sure to like and subscribe. I'll be coming out with my season 1 finale video as soon as the episode airs. Last episode we talked about this idea of a new rebellion. For Juliette to survive, she'll either need to find a new way out, like this tunnel, or lead some sort of uprising against the powers that be. Last episode we saw a number of shots from other silo dwellers looking on as Judicial overstepped their bounds. We have this father and son who witnessed Juliette getting beaten, and also this raider who may have seen Sims and Bernard falsely claim that Juliette asked to go out to clean. Her name is Jean Robinson and was one of Paul's former students. At the beginning of this episode we'll see how other silo dwellers watch on concerned as Sims searches for Juliette. The show is really making an effort to show us how the regular folks of the silo are taking in Judicial's oversteps. With Paul's wife stating that there are rumblings of rebellion among the people, I think this is one direction the story could take. If you've watched my trailer sleuthing, you'll know I've been very curious when this device would show up. For now, I'm just gonna call it a fob. It has the number 18 on it, which is the same number found on the hard drive. As far as we know, Bernard is the only one who possesses one of these, and it blinks red while he's talking to Sims. Either this is some sort of key or perhaps a pager. It does make a buzzing sound while on his desk, almost as if someone wants his attention or it's alerting him to danger. Later on the episode, we'll see the red light has turned off. As far as the number 18 goes, the only theory I currently have is that 18 is the number of their silo, meaning there could be multiple silos. Paul's had one hell of a day in this episode, from being walloped by the syndrome to discovering amazing things about Georgia. Even though Paul's wife wants him to go back to Judicial where it's safe, Paul needs to prove himself, vowing to make things right by catching Juliette. And this journey ends up shattering everything he knows about the silo. While searching Juliette's apartment, he sees a shard of one-way glass used by the cameras to spy on the citizens. In the bathroom, he finds where Juliette has stashed the book about Georgia, and it's here he's really faced with a crisis of faith. His entire life has been about following the pact, but all this new information is teaching him it was all a lie. This is why he puts the book in the oven. Just get rid of it and pretend he never saw it. But something within him compels him to rip out a page before he does this. Paul being done with the pact is emphasized when he puts his copy away. We get one more interesting bit of information when Sim questions Juliette's father about her whereabouts. Dr. Nichols recounts the story of Hanna's suicide, stating that the railing on the first level is worn smooth from all the people gripping it tightly before jumping over. This is how Hanna killed herself. I'm not entirely convinced that Hanna did kill herself, and I could see a world where foul play was involved. Their conversation also brings up this idea of what is more important, your family or the silo, with Sims stating that no one person is more important than the 10,000. But Sims is a hypocrite. He'll later expend valuable resources by having raiders escort his wife and child when they could have been out looking for Juliette. When Bernard hears about this, it makes him question whether Sims should even be considered to be his shadow. This is apparently what Sims has been striving for, to become Bernard's shadow and eventually the de facto leader of the silo. Later in the episode, Sims's wife says, quote, "We have one goal, one ambition," which could mean the two of them ruling the silo, or it could mean something even more nefarious. After this convo, Sims makes his way back down to the Watchers and look at what he sees on the screen for a brief moment. There are the words audio display, silo level 17, the floor Sims lives on, and some audio data being archived. It makes me wonder if Bernard was listening in to Sims's conversation with his wife, and if he was, he'll know that Camille let Juliette free, and this could get her sent out to clean. Now we get our trailer sleuthing section of the video, so if you don't want to see any clips that we can expect next episode, turn away now now, but don't worry, there's only about 2 of them. Here's Amundsen, Sims' shadow, accompanied by raiders in what appears to be a raid on Patrick Kennedy's apartment. We last saw Amundsen taking Lucas away, so maybe this info came from him. There's this shot of Bernard reciting the lines a mayor or sheriff says when taking someone out to clean. If Bernard was listening to Camille's conversation with Sims, my guess is that it's her who's going to be sent out. Other than that, it could be Juliette or any of her accomplices, including Lucas, Patrick, or Danny. That's it for this episode of Silo. Let me know what your thoughts and theories are in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe, and for more bad takes, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at ThinkStoryYT. Until next time, remember,
what the actual fuck?